This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Aaron Knepp, our honored Patreon backer, and SwitchCat. Hey everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch garçon.
Expanding our vocabulary every week.
We're back again with another great episode for everybody here. We have a whole week of Nintendo Switch topics, news, and reviews to share with all of our lovely listeners out there. How have you been since I've last spoken to you, JV?
You know, I've been quite well. I picked up Valkyria Chronicles. I'll be reviewing Dragonball FighterZ today. And I'm just so happy to see that the Switch covers so many different genres now that there is a game for every gaming itch I want to scratch.
We are definitely reviewing games on the opposite ends of the spectrum this week as you are brawling with Brawly and the other Super Saiyans of the world.
I like it.
Yes, I'll be taking it easy with some Little Dragon's Cafe, relaxing, serving people dishes, and exploring the world with a pet dragon, which is adorable. And we have, of course, all that and more this episode. But I also, yes, JV, I had some great news today. I got a new arrival showed up at my doorstep last night, and I've already shared this with the patrons on the Lens feed, but I finally got my new computer all in my apartment in a nice box ready to unwrap and spend this weekend setting up.
This is a huge deal because I believe the biggest factor that was stopping us from streaming is computers and hardware. Yes. And now that we've gone past that specific hurdle, it looks like we might be doing some more video capture soon.
I really do want to. I mean, I know that there's still a few other things I'm gonna have to work out. I have to check what my internet provider's speed is, and then tell them.
That's a very big deal for streaming.
I still gotta figure out what I needed, an Elgato, and I'm probably actually I'm gonna go with the green screen. I'm thinking I'm gonna go with the background there because honestly, the background being my apartment is gonna probably look lame and just very mundane. So I'll try not to choose a cheesy background like me floating in space like a lot of guys do. But I'm gonna pick something a nice. Cool but tasteful background to have when I'm doing my streams, and so you guys can look at me while I'm playing my various games there. So
wait, so you're not just gonna have a huge harem of lolly waifus surrounding you in your stream?
Oh no! I can't even remind.
I just out your plans.
It angers me so much when I see those things because it honestly, when I see and look if. I'm not judging anyone who either does that or if you watch that, a lot of these streamers that do a lot of that cheesy fan servicey over the top caricature stuff. But I personally cringe so bad looking at those. And people in the chat know which streamers and stuff I'm talking about. They just really make me cringe, and I can't watch them seriously. So I just don't want to be that. And if it means less people watch me because I'm not some crazy cartoon character, so be it. I'm just gonna be me. That's it.
Yeah, honestly, that's our MO for this entire podcast and for any content that we produce. We're just gonna be us. We're not gonna play some stupid over-the-top character or just yell in front of a camera just because that's what gets people hyped. No, we're incredibly honest. We share our true feelings. If we're excited, we're really excited. If we're not, we're not.
Luckily, I am a bit of a character. I'm not a total Mr. Straightman boring stain guy, but I think I'm decently entertaining, and I think my personality should come through. All right.
Right. Yeah. At this point, you guys should know what our personalities are, and we're really excited to show more of that on stream.
All right. Well, this weekend, I hope to spend a lot of time working on that sort of stuff there. So we'll get progress.
Good luck with that, man. It's a tricky setup. I have to say, it's going to take you a bit of time.
I'm so, I so hate doing this. I hate setting up computers. I hate,
Really?
No, I just want it to work. I don't want to have to, do this sort of stuff. I don't want to, figure out I don't like learning new terms and the tech. The hardware I don't want to like learn about, and I don't have any interest in it. I just want to plug in a thing that does the stuff I want it to do. And I hate that I have to like keep asking
figure things out.
Ask people like you, like, what does this require? What do I have to ask like when I call up my ISP? I'm going to have to ask them some questions, and I'm going to have to know, like, what are the bits per second that I need, you know? Like, what
are your upload speeds, your all that stuff. Yeah, no, I get you. I'm actually the exact opposite of you. Yeah. I love figuring this type of stuff out.
That's the thing you're interested in. I just wanted to plug, my mind is too busy working out new commander decks for my,
for Magic.
For my Magic group. That's all it thinks about some days.
Though, speaking of cards, before we move on to Game Station, which I'm sure people are really excited for, I actually was digging through my old stuff, my old box of historical stuff, and I found Palette Tribune trading not trading cards, the business cards.
Oh, that's funny.
They're perfectly intact, and it just reminds me of the history of the podcast.
Where it all began, the Palette Tribune.
Yeah.
The first podcast where you were just a background tech support helper for Joey.
Pretty much. And then now here we are.
Yeah, it's a weird guy. Darkus actually wanted me to mention to everybody that he is going to be holding a Pinball FX tournament. If you just want to find out more about that, you can go into our Discord chat. I'll pin something to the general chat for people to find out about it, but it will be starting October 9th. And it will be a 30-day tournament, basically giving people a chance to rack up the highest score they can on the Fishtails table, which will be free.
Nice.
And he's putting up a $50 gift card prize. So there's something on the line here. If anyone wants to give it a shot and download the app for free and then download that table and just give it a shot. And details will be in the Discord chat, and I'll see if I maybe put something in the Facebook group. But yeah, $50 gift card just for playing some pinball. Definitely worth a shot.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's really all thanks to everyone listening, all of you listeners who supported us through various methods, including our Patreon. Thank you very much for all of our Patreon members as well. If you want to be a Patreon member, check us out at patreon.com/theswitchcast. It's really, really helpful, and we cannot stress how much we appreciate everyone's support.
Yep. You can go on there, patreon.com/theswitchcast, pledge $1, $5, $20, whatever you feel is right. And it's what keeps us going. And I recommitted myself to feeding the lens feed with at least a daily update of some screenshot of either something I'm playing, or like I said, this morning I posted the picture of my computer box, and I'm going to keep trying to at least post once a day again to just keep people in the loop about what's going on behind the scenes. And I kind of let it lag a little bit, so it's time for me to get back on the wagon and start keeping the patrons up to date on what we're doing and interacting with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can leave comments. So if you ever see the the posts on the lens feed, feel free to leave a comment. They only last for 24 hours, the picture. So, comment fast, and I will, we'll get a little conversation going for that brief time that we have.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, moving on. Let's just go talk about the games, because that's really what everyone's here to talk about. All right. I might have to stop calling this the Game Station. A couple of people already told me every time they hear me say it, they only hear me say PlayStation. So maybe I'll go back to Playtime or something for now. We'll name pending for section. So
yeah, we are very open to format changes, and this might be one of them.
So maybe if anyone thinks of any good names for it to switch it to, I'm open to those. But JV, tell us about what game have you been spending this week with?
So I have been playing Dragonball FighterZ. Or
have we ever decided how it's officially pronounced?
No, it's officially called Dragonball FighterZ.
Okay,
not Dragonball FighterZ like I used to call it. And I'm sure most people call it that. Dragonball FighterZ. So if you don't know this already, Dragon Ball FighterZ is a 2D fighting game with a 3v3 character switching style, kind of akin to games like Marvel vs. Capcom.
Skullgirls?
Yeah, Skullgirls works too.
Yeah.
And, while the game has been out for 9 months in other platforms, I'm going to explain the base mechanics of this, since it is new to the Switch. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Good point.
To start, I have to say that I was so excited when this game was initially announced. Do you remember, Casey? I think this was one of my Switch system switches, right?
Yep. Right. As soon as it was something that even was an inkling that it might come to the Switch, you were already, or even when we just had demos of it available for other systems, you were like, this game needs to come to Switch. You're already infatuated. You're a hardcore DBZ fan, aren't you?
I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore DBZ fan, but there's always a special spot in my heart for Dragon Ball, and especially for 2D Dragon Ball fighting games. We haven't had a proper 2D Dragon Ball fighting game in quite a long time. I believe even since the SNES era. I used to emulate Japanese Dragon Ball SNES fighting games back when I was a lot younger, and I loved those. But
I think that's the only one I've ever played before, actually, too. I must have been playing it on someone's emulator, because it was a very long time ago, and I don't remember, but I remember playing I've seen all the videos of that Super Nintendo one. I was like, wait, this is so familiar. I've played this at someone's house before, but it was on some, like, maybe it was on a hacked Sega Saturn that had like emulators put in there.
No, I played mine on a computer, and I used to love it. I used to absolutely love it. And since then, Dragon Ball Z has always kind of it's always taken up the casual 3D fighting arena game scene for a long time. And while, the Budokai Tenkaichi games of the past were fun, they didn't really feel like they had the hardcore depth of stuff like Street Fighter or Guilty Gear or King of Fighters.
Yeah, a lot of those had a focus on, like, the customization and all, like, equipping all the moves and the mods.
Right.
And
it was mostly just to be flashy, and, while they were fun, they didn't feel like tournament-worthy fighting games. Yeah. So, when Arc System Works announced that they were taking the 2D Dragon Ball mantle, I got super excited, and I feel like they really hit it out of the ballpark with Dragon Ball FighterZ, Casey.
Oh, so it is everything that you were hoping to experience in the game?
Yes, and yes. Dragon Ball FighterZ, it has a fairly standard control scheme for how Arc System Works does things. So it's similar to Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, Persona 4 Ultimix. It's very similar to that in that there is one dedicated button each for light attacks, medium attacks, heavy attacks, and special attacks.
Okay.
It's very simple getting attacks out and getting combos out because each button has a dedicated type of attack to it. The triggers of your controller actually lets you either switch out characters or call them for a quick assist. So it's also overall just a very simple control scheme. If you've listened to my previous review about the new Blaze Blue cross tag battle game, the combo system is pretty similar. Combos are really simple to pull off. All you have to do is press light, medium, heavy, and that's a standard combo that strings along really cleanly. And a lot of moves just continually string cleanly to each other, and that is a really casual player-friendly system. They even have what's called a simple mode, which lets you kind of control abilities like Pocket Rumble in a sense where you can hold down one button and do a direction, and that does one type of attack. Hold down a button in direction, that's another attack. It's a little strange because the controls are already incredibly simple, so having a separate simple mode is kind of weird, but they are really putting into mind casual players and making this game as accessible as possible, which is something I really appreciate.
How complex is the full move set available? Not necessarily executing any one move, but like Pokken, they have a very simple control scheme, right? It was easy to pull off any move with forward, back, and one of the 3 attack buttons, but it actually had a very long list of moves, some of which are very situational, but it was still a very complex set of moves. How deep and complex are the full move lists for the characters?
The move lists aren't that complex, and I think that was intentional. Each move, light, medium, heavy, has their own properties, and doing a different direction has their own properties as well. But it's not really that complicated, and each character really has 1 or 2 special moves that they can pull out, and they're triggered based on the standard quarter circle attack movement.
Okay.
So there's nothing incredibly complicated like double tap down, double tap up attack.
Okay.
None of that crazy stuff that more hardcore fighting games have. And which is something that is very, very good for casual players. If you don't want to dig into the combo system, you really can just play this game kind of button mashy, and you can get through most things pretty well.
I'm a little surprised to hear that. It's just from the looks of the game, it does not look like a game that is trying to court a casual playership. It looks so epic in the way it animates, in the way that they present the fights, that I get the impression very complex things are happening on each controller.
A lot of things are happening, but it really flows together so seamlessly, and it does a lot of the tricky maneuvers for you. For example, you can just do a standard light, medium, heavy and just keep attacking, and naturally your character will launch the character up, and you can either maneuver for more combos if you insist, or dash away to give yourself more space, or maybe angle it a little bit so that you can corner them on the side of a screen. A lot of this stuff lets you sit back and kind of figure out what you want to do, instead of necessarily having to worry about each combo press that you want to put in. Now, if you want to get to the harder difficulty or get to a higher level and be more deliberate with your combos, yeah, you are definitely able to get to that level. But if you're a more casual fighting game player, but you're a really big Dragonball fan, they've really brought the skill floor down very low to enjoy this game.
Now, do they capture the thing? One of the things I remember from watching the Dragon Ball Z series, and I think this is something they did in the Super Nintendo game too, there was a distinction between fighting on the ground as opposed to fighting in the air, and it almost would be a slightly different kind of combat style. Is this game always on the ground, or are there parts where you're punching each other on and constantly being in the air?
Right, I actually remember what you're talking about. In those SNES games, the air is its own plane, essentially, and you would fight with different mechanics. And this one, no, it's not. It doesn't have that whatsoever. It really plays a lot more like Blaze Blue or Guilty Gear in that sense.
Okay.
Which isn't, I'm not going to knock it for that, because that's not necessary to be enjoyable as a fighting game. And I have to say, this game, fundamentally, as a fighting game, is very, very enjoyable.
They'd have to change a lot about the game, to incorporate that as it's a very core tenet that you'd have to change of the game to make that a feature. Now every character has to have a different move set. It's almost like switching between field and dual mode.
Right, and it's not that. And they really want to make this a good 2D fighting game that almost just so happens to have Dragon Ball in it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do want to make special emphasis on the graphics of this game.
Yes.
My biggest concern when I heard that this was coming out on the Switch was just how much they would potentially have to compromise to bring this into a handheld console. I was actually kind of suspicious about that they would compromise it to the point where I might not even enjoy it as someone who's played fighting games more often. I would like to rest assure everyone who is very concerned. This game looks gorgeous. It's not a steady 60 frames per second, but it stays really close, really consistently. And I notice it only dips to around maybe around 50 frames per second when there's a huge super attack that's being pushed out towards the opponent. Those are really when the frame rate dips. but since it's a cinematic scene within the fighting game anyway, it doesn't necessarily throw you off frames-wise when you're attacking, which I thought was awesome.
Those are like quite the cherry on the top of this game. Just, not having played it, but looking at it, that was, I'd say it's one of the biggest draws of it to someone just watching it, even casually. I want to do those moves. I want to trigger those cutscene-like attacks that just cause anime-like scenes.
I'm gonna be totally honest. That's the graphics, the animation, the flair, the special attacks, the booms, the beams, the bombs, the punches. That's what you want in a Dragon Ball game. That's what you're coming in here for. There are going to be fans out there that would love this game even if it was mediocre. And I'm just so glad that Dragon Ball FighterZ as a fundamental fighting game is very good, and the graphics on the Switch are up to par. It really doesn't feel like you're compromising compared to other console versions, which is really good to say about a Switch game.
Now, what are our options for play modes? Obviously, you mentioned, it's a 3v3 versus mode. Is there any, in particular, one-player options for this game?
Yeah, there actually is a single-player, pretty full-fledged story mode. And I love that it's actually not just a retelling of the previous anime, like the Budokai games were. This is its own full-fledged dedicated story, which I found to be really cool.
Okay, and there's no time traveling in it?
I mean, I'm not gonna spoil anything. But the premise of the story is that I can't really tell where on the timeline it is. It might be an alternate timeline, but you have your character. You inhabit yourself. You're a human, and you just for some mysterious reason inhabit Goku's body.
Okay.
Yes, this means that you're everyone around in the Z universe is kind of wondering why this is happening, but simultaneously, while you're trapped in Goku's body, all of these clones of the Z fighters and all of your previous enemies pop up and start attacking everything. And since you inhabit Goku's body, it's up to you to fight those people away. And it's actually pretty interesting because as you progress through the single player, you collect more and more characters that you can play as. And the story actually has kind of an interesting justification as to why characters can only fight one at a time. Apparently, all of the fighters that you collect, all of your friends, are super, super weak unless you take them over. So your human spirit encompasses Goku, but if you need Krillin to come in and fight, your justification is that your human spirit swaps over to Krillin, powering him up, allowing him to fight. But Goku's weak because he's not inhabited by your spirit. That type of stuff.
JV, let's just get it out of the way. There's never a reason that Krillin needs to fight. Let's just get that out of the way.
Oh, so sad.
I love Krillin. Honestly, I am such a Krillin supporter. I always feel like he's robbed because you know what? Krillin is in the DBZ story like the most powerful human being in the world. But he's surrounded by gods.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Therefore, it's just like, I could have been like Emperor of Earth if I, A, was, not a nice guy, and B, I wasn't surrounded by these intergalactic gods.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting background for a human character in this really crazy world. And I do want to say, in the Dragon Ball Super anime, there was like a tournament arc where Krillin had to actually fight Goku, and Krillin almost won by utilizing the rules of the tournament. So he was pretty smart about it.
I love that.
But so credit to Krillin for sure.
I want to ask also, just to get kind of an idea of maybe what the individual shticks of some of the characters are. Do any of them have any particular shticks that, or their specific strategy types? Like I know there's usually like a grappler or something like that. And specifically, what's Piccolo's deal in the game? Piccolo is always my favorite character, so I kind of want to know what his deal is.
Oh, so I never actually ever used Piccolo. I'm sorry.
Okay. Is he like the Dalsum type? I can imagine that would be an easy thing for them to do and give him the stretchy arms.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really specifically strong. Like, he doesn't hit particularly hard like other characters, but he has some pretty decent mix-ups, if you know, and he does do a lot of Dalsim-style arm stretching and that type of stuff. I'm gonna be completely honest, the difference between each character is more subtle than explicit, just because beams and punches are all kind of similar, and the differences are really just the properties of each attack and how each attack comes out.
So it's not like Blaze Blue where everyone has almost like a unique power, or where like one character drains hit points with attacks, where one character has the magnetism effects on people. They're all just pretty much fighters with a somewhat different move set, not really a different even a different gameplay feature almost to each one.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. Like, Goku Black has uses energy arm swords. Gotenks has ghosts that he can utilize, and really, it's not the fault of the fighting game itself. It's the fault of the Dragon Ball as a franchise. The characters aren't super different, really.
That is true. You can, they all have. I mean, most of them all know the same moves. Like, everybody knows a Kamehameha.
Yeah, or a Kamehameha style attack.
Yeah,
and wait, Vegeta's is actually Final Flash, but it's also in the form of a beam, but it's different for some reason. Going back to the single player, it is a charming story mode. It has a fully dedicated story, and it is fully voice acted by both the Japanese and the English voice actors, so you can swap between the two if you need to, and it's pretty fun. There is a stage-by-stage overview map that you move around on in between each fight, and that lets you kind of control who you face off against next. You essentially collect characters through kind of like a tabletop board game map, and then move on to the next area from there, and then moving on from throughout the story. So there is a pretty substantial single player mode in this, which was a surprise to me. Now, for multiplayer, there is a very, very big competitive scene for this game.
I imagine since it's already been established for many months before it came out on the Switch.
Yeah, and it was even a part of EVO 2018 this year. It wasn't the Switch version, obviously, but that goes to show that Dragon Ball FighterZ actually holds up as a truly competitive fighting game. And I don't think any recent Dragon Ball fighting game or anime fighting game was able to fulfill that. It's actually a really big deal.
That's pretty good, because so it's not just style; it does have the function,
substance.
To it. Yeah.
Absolutely. When it comes to the multiplayer available on the Switch, obviously there is local head-to-head multiplayer, and you can even play 3v3, three different players versus another three different players, just controlling one character when you switch out, and that is a really fun way to play too. But the primary mode that I tried out was the online play, and that was a lot of fun. And it worked really well on the Switch.
Do you know if there's any crossplay, or is it only amongst other Switch players?
There is no crossplay. It's just Switch players. Anyway, when it comes to the online elements to this game, I was taken aback by the lobby system, which is actually kind of an MMO-esque overview lobby system where you travel around as a chibi characters, walking around to the different menu options. And you can see all of the other online characters that are moving around and doing the same, which is super cool.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's akin to the Splatoon's overworld, where you can see other characters, other players of Splatoon, and they're giving their own little quotes and drawings. It doesn't have the drawings, but it does have an overview, a lobby system where you can see other people, and it makes the game feel more alive that way. Which
like, I really just like. Their characters preloaded, or is it like live other people actually what they're doing, or is it just like they're loading up their avatars, or you don't know?
I mean, I saw characters move, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if that's really people moving or if it's just pre-generated chibi characters moving around. I suspect it's just pre-generated, but I wouldn't be able to say for sure. I tried some online matches, and I don't know if I was just super lucky or if my connection and my opponent's connection was just really good, but I didn't really have a terrible experience like I thought I would. The games were quite smooth, and maybe there were only 1 or 2 games that had some sort of prohibitive level of lag, which is a testament to the online system.
Very cool.
It worked quite well. As you play multiple games, whether online or offline, you get some sort of currency, which lets you purchase some gacha-style cosmetics. So, which means you can buy capsules, and they randomly spout out a cosmetic that you can include within your online multiplayer experience.
So you can dress up your Vegeta with like a cool T-shirt or chains,
and it unlocks color schemes. And I actually got a rare golden Frieza chibi character for my lobby system, dude. So whenever I walk around, people are gonna see my golden Frieza and know that is a rare golden Frieza chibi.
Interesting.
And, yeah. So overall, the whole package is all there. It was just a 1-to-1 translation from the PS4 and the Xbox and PC all the way to the Switch. It's gorgeous. It runs really well. There's very little compromises. The only concern that anyone would potentially have really is using the Joy-Cons to play in a fighting game. That might be a bit of a problem for some. Mm-hmm. But if you can get past that hurdle, this game is a dream to have on the Switch. That's for
so you highly recommend using Pro Controller with this.
I almost immediately jumped on the Pro Controller with this game. It's not the most ideal situation to play on handhelds or on the Joy-Cons, but if it's the only option in a handheld setting, it's not the end of the world.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So,
all right, awesome.
So good game. I recommend it. If you're a Dragon Ball fan, get it. If you're a fighting game fan and a peripheral Dragon Ball fan, get it. It's worth it. It's one of the. I like it better than I liked Cross Tag Battle.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well,
which is saying a lot.
All right. So, while you were stressing out and training under 20 times gravity,
yes, I was the hyperbolic time chamber,
taking things easy at the Little Dragons Cafe. It's been a while since I've played one of these Harvest Moon type games, and this one is actually developed by Yasuhiro Wada, who is the creator of the Harvest Moon series, and he was in this is his latest creation in the genre, so it has some interesting pedigree, but he didn't stick strictly to the formula that a lot of these games usually adhere to. He did take some interesting twists with it.
Okay.
But, so Little Dragons Cafe is a little more of a focused farm life kind of sim game. And I'm even kind of hesitant to call it a farm life game because that's not even like a major part of it. What this is really more of, it's like running a little restaurant in the middle of this fantasy world. So you play as one of these 2 kids who live in the inn with their mother, and there's a lot of emphasis on the story in this game, and you quickly find out that your mother is actually half dragon, and she suddenly passes out one day after giving you your tutorial on how to gather materials, gather ingredients, how to cook and stuff like that, and then she passes out into like a coma, and while you kids are freaking out, some wizard shows up, tells you what happened to her, and says, yep, the only way to heal her is to make your cafe successful, and raise this baby dragon. And I'm like, what? Okay, yeah, that's what I said. It's like, all right, I'm not whatever crazy old man who just appeared out of nowhere that we'll take the word for.
Yeah.
So he gives you this little egg, and it hatches, and there's a little baby dragon who is adorable and cool, and he becomes your partner for the rest of the game.
So is he essentially kind of like the Pikachu or the Agumon of this game?
You could probably say that. He kind of is in that, but he's more of he's a helpful creature in addition to just being your mascot. So your daily tasks in this game will include, you're really focused on trying to build up the cafe's customership and how many people come, and build up its reputation and its menu. And so you'll generally start a day, let's say you're gonna go out and you can explore the world, right? There's a lot of, I wouldn't say a huge area to go to, but you start out with actually a pretty limited circle that you can explore around your cafe. But you're going to go and you can pick up items, you could shake down trees for for fruit. You can go and fish for some fish, and everything's really simple. You don't need to like get different rods. They kind of streamlined all that sort of stuff. If you go to a little fishing hole, you hit a button, you'll start fishing, and then you hit A when it's the right time, you catch stuff. You're going to pick up sugar and grain, stuff like that, and then you're going to take it back to the cafe. It all just gets stocked automatically, and you're also going to try to find recipe pieces while you're out there, because apparently people leave pieces of recipe out there, and you're going to be taking them back, and then you're going to use those recipes. You're going to make different dishes that you're going to then put on your menu. Now, actually cooking the dishes is interesting in that it's a little bit of a rhythm game, actually.
Okay.
They actually have this a couple different tunes for different types of plates, and they're nothing fancy, but it's just a pretty groovy little tune for each different thing, and you do a little rhythm game. And as you get more advanced with certain dishes, you can start including more ingredients to spice them up, and that also increases the number of like notes you have to hit in the rhythm game. It makes those so like the more difficult the dish, the longer and more difficult a rhythm game you have to play to make it a high quality dish.
Okay, so is there some sort of progression to this game? Is there a level or anything you have to grind or level up?
Well, actually, so what's interesting is, even though you're running this cafe, and every day at a couple of times throughout the day, there's like a couple of busy times, but people will come in and out, and you're going to start recruiting a few people who work there. There's going to be, in addition to your sibling, whichever one you pick not to be, there'll be a helper. And then there's going to be 2 other people that you'll meet in the storyline who sign up to be basically servers. And you're going to get the chef. And they're all pretty crazy characters, actually. They're very... Like, remember when I was talking about the Cloud Catcher Chronicles, right? Which was another of these, like,
Yeah,
like
I remember that one.
I hated how everyone looked the same, and there wasn't any like inspiration in the different character models. Here's the exact opposite. This is what I'm looking for. Every character is so drastically different and colorful and unique. You can never get anyone mixed up. So you have like this elf guy who kind of looks like a shaggy version of Link, who he tries to dine and dash, and then your little pet dragon kind of catches him, and so he starts working there to just pay off his debt for stealing your food.
Okay.
Another character joins up, and she just kind of joins you because she's angry at how lazy your first server that the Link character is, and so she just kind of joins to be a disciplinarian. And then you get this really flamboyant orc. Right? Like, he's like this big green-skinned, pig-nosed guy, but he dresses in like purples, and he loves cute stuff, and he has like gold like he's very flamboyant, and he becomes your chef. And once you have this team together, a lot of like a story cutscene happens almost every day from then on, either just between them or within certain characters who come and are regular customers. You'll see the same faces come in, and then sometimes like a story important character starts coming in, and they might stay at the inn for a few days or a period of time in the game while you help sort out their life problems or whatever. Like, you get this little kid who wants to be a warrior.
So is there any specific distinction between the type of characters that you can recruit and just characters that you encounter as a customer?
Every single person is like there's no generic person. Everybody you meet in the game is a named character, and a lot of them have like the backstories that you can get into. But the main ones, like that little warrior kid I mentioned, there's a few that you'll get a progress bar for trying to complete their story. And usually that involves trying to supply them with the right type of food, or saying certain things during conversations, or they might ask you to like go get something out in the wild. But you're going to do little missions like that for them over the course of the game to advance their story. Now, interestingly, even though you're running this cafe, there's no money in the game, right? Which is kind of weird, right? So the only thing you're really trying to increase is your reputation in order to get more people to come. And as your reputation like hits certain benchmarks, the wizard goes poof and makes your cafe bigger.
Okay. So he's kind of like the Tom Nook of the game.
Yeah, that's kind of a way to put it. So it's a little weird though, because like say in Harvest Moon, right? When you want to expand your house,
you have to pay for it.
You have to pay for it, and you have to get the parts. You have to buy all get the material, and it's usually a really big hurdle. Like you have to really do a lot to accomplish that, and it's exponentially harder as the game progresses to get each expansion. In this game, that's not a problem, and this could be for better or for worse, but just as you progress in the story, you're just going to get that expansion at certain beats, and it's just going to come to you because you've gotten that point in the story. It's never like, okay, well, now you're going to have to grind some huge hurdle out, which is nice because it makes it easier. But at the same time, it kind of doesn't make it feel as super special as it is when you really work hard for those expansions.
So the way you're describing it, it sounds like it's kind of a mix between one of those Harvest Moon gathering games and almost a visual novel.
A little bit. The thing I feel like it's just a more focused version of a Harvest Moon game. Whereas like, let's say like in Stardew Valley, right? We always say how you can wake up any day in that game and you're almost paralyzed by how many things you can do, right? A lot of people just don't know, do I want to go to the mine and I want to hunt things, or do I want to go woo my waifu or husbando for the future, right? In this, there's really not a lot of options. You get up, you're going to go explore what you can, gather ingredients, and you'll be well stocked within a few days. You don't really have to stress out about that too much. And you're going to come back to the cafe every so often to maybe help people with the service. Because if you're not there, sometimes your workers will slack off, or maybe they just need another set of hands to go take orders, deliver food and stuff like that. But you know what? If you totally ignore that, you can just go explore the world, gather stuff. But the world's not that big, so it never feels like that awesome to explore. And you're not like super agile, so you don't really you're not able to climb over a lot of stuff. You're going to hit the arbitrary border where they say you can't go any further until the story says, all right, you can go further out there. Okay,
so it seems like it's a lot more of a guided linear experience compared to like Stardew Valley or Harvest Moon.
Much so.
And is there a stamina level for each individual day?
Well, so that's actually interesting, is that this game doesn't really, like again in Harvest Moon or in Stardew Valley, you have to be at bed by a certain time or your character passes out and bad stuff happens. This game doesn't really do that. You can stay out till 4 a.m. and you don't have to
never go to sleep.
No, you really don't get punished for not going to sleep in this game. If you want to work through the night, that's fine. I think you sleep in a little later, like 1 hour, which is nothing because there's not a ton of things you have to do in a day. Like in Stardew Valley, it's really hard to do everything you want some days and get to bed in time before your character passes out. In this, you can always teleport back to the cafe from anywhere and just show up back there, so you never have to worry about walking back, which is kind of a nice little thing. The dragon follows you around everywhere, and he starts out at you progress in the story, he grows up with you, and so he starts out just this cute little whelp, and you can use him he can go inside little tiny caves, and he comes back with meat somehow. I'm assuming he's slaying rats or something and coming back with their meat for you. But at certain points when he gets bigger, he starts having more tools he can do. Like eventually he can help you fight animals in the wild, and you can fight monsters off.
Okay. And it looks like at some point you can mount him.
Yes, he gets bigger. And depending on what you feed him, you could actually customize what color he'll turn into, so you could feed him certain types of food if you wanted to be like a blue dragon or a green dragon. I don't think it changes any of his stats or anything like that, but it's just kind of a cool little customization option you have there. Oh, and yeah, also every night you can gather some manure from his bed. And dragon manure makes everything better, apparently. You can use it. You can use it on your farm to help things grow faster. You can spread it on fishing holes to make the fish show up bigger.
So I guess dragon manure is the purest form of magic.
It pretty much is, yes.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, very much. The art style I like. It's really nice that it's like this storybook kind of art style. It looks like it was something drawn in like a fairy tale. Like you could practically see like the ink marks on everything, and it's kind of cute. It fits everything, and as I said, the characters are all really unique and stand out, and it's very colorful, and it keeps me stimulated. Now, not to say that the writing is that great. It's also very storybook. I told you the intro to the story, right? And it sounded like I was just blurting out a very abridged version of the intro, but that's really kind of how they give it to you. You start out, you get a very quick tutorial, and then your mom passes out, and suddenly a wizard shows up and says, "Oh, yes, she's half dragon. Raise this.
Stay a while and listen."
Yeah, may become a successful cafe owner, and she'll get better. Like, really, that's all. Some of the characters have a little more story, and it's kind of funny, but it's on the lighthearted side. So you're not looking for Lord of the Rings here.
So overall, would you recommend this game to people who are already fans of something like Stardew Valley?
I would recommend it for people who felt that a game like Stardew Valley was too open-ended and maybe overwhelmed them with the stuff they can do, or who felt that a game like Harvest Moon was maybe a little too directionless, maybe even a little repetitive. The action in this game does get a little repetitive. Like, I do get bored of going over the same area of land and just collecting more vegetables and stuff. But what this does do is it gives you a constant feed of storyline, right? If you want, you can skip days pretty quickly. Just go and grab a few more items and go to bed really early and just get to the next plot point. And you can speed through the game pretty fast like that. And I think that's going to appeal to certain people who just kind of are motivated by the way the story progresses in the game. So
yeah,
I'm not personally crazy about the game. I think it's fine, but it's not the kind of game I'd probably spend a lot of time with. Just kind of raising the dragon's my favorite part, and kind of like seeing how he grows, and maybe like a little bit of what the story is with my mom, but it's not something that would really keep me compelled, but it's not a super long game. I think you could actually beat the story in about 30, 40 hours. So it has a lot more of a definite end than other games of the genre. So it's going to appeal to people who want to be done with it rather than people who want to play this game for 200 hours and never be done. Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, it's a full price game. There's a collector's edition that you can get for like $70 or $80. And obviously the regular version is about $60. It's a fun game and it's okay. But I think for a very specific set of people who are into this genre, but maybe haven't found one. It does different things with the genres, which I commend it for.
Do you think it's worth the full $60 price though? Especially considering games like Stardew Valley is significantly cheaper.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we got to remember also this doesn't have the endless gameplay of that. It does have it is a more lushly designed world. It's a 3D world. It has this really beautiful art style. Whereas, Stardew Valley is great, but it is like, not everyone likes the pixel art of it. I mean, I prefer Stardew Valley in almost every regards to this game, but the things that I like about it are also turnoffs for many people. So I'm just going to say, this is a game for people who are looking for it's worth it for people who are looking for different things in the genre than we usually look for,
That's a good assessment.
All right, so those are our games for this week. Why don't we catch our breaths, check our watches, and move on into our Switch focus?
Let's do it.
All right, Switch Focus, we have acquired for you a couple of different topics this week. We're going to try to tackle in a little few minutes each, and then we'll also read your responses to our main question of the week. But first off, I wanted to ask you, the big question we always have to talk about, which side are you on in the upcoming Splatfest?
So the upcoming Splatfest is Halloween themed, and it looks like it is trick or treat. So for me, I actually would like to go for treat. Because,
really?
Yeah. I like, wait, are you surprised?
A little bit, I guess. I mean, I guess you're a pretty gluttonous person, so yeah, maybe treat does make sense.
I just want the candy, man.
See, I'm fat, so I don't need candy. I don't need more. I'm not into the treats. Halloween's an excuse for me to buy cheap Baby Ruths, so I'm like, no, I have to stay away from the treat end. But one of my favorite things of the Halloween season is they always have different shows, and I can find all over YouTube different pranks people pull around this time of year, and I love watching the slew of, not just scare pranks, but all kinds of different, tricks people play in each other themed for the season. So that's what I really get excited about around now. I love seeing all those kinds of like practical jokes and that sort of stuff. Yeah,
so if you guys don't already know, whenever we discuss these Splatoon Splatfests, we go in completely blind, and more often than not, Casey and I just so happen to end up on the exact opposite end of each Splatfest.
The other thing is, I can buy candy anytime I want. I don't need a special holiday to like eat,
I guess
chocolates.
That's true. So I'm a little weird in the sense that I don't like children in general. I don't like dealing with rowdy children. But when it comes to Halloween, I really like the mood of giving kids candy in the trick-or-treating type setting. It's kind of fun thinking, oh, hey, maybe this is the type of candy that kids will like nowadays. And I haven't gotten to hand out candy in a while since I live in an apartment complex, but I used to actually enjoy it when kids would come to our front door and I could give them candy and it would make them happy.
I do kind of share that sentiment, because when I did move out on my own first, I was excited to actually be like, ooh, I'm gonna give out candy. I'm gonna had a big bowl the first Halloween where I lived in the apartment building also, and yeah, no one comes around to the apartment buildings, and I did not get to give out anything like that year or any year since. They all go to the stores in my neighborhood. Apparently, there's an avenue with a lot of shops and stuff, and the kids just kind of go to the different stores along the street.
Oh, that's weird, but I guess I can kind of see that. And it's good advertising for the stores, at least.
I guess they get people coming in. I don't know how.
I do remember there was one year when I was a kid, and we didn't really want to deal with the kids that year. So what we did was we left out a big bowl of candy and had a sign that said, please take just one or a couple, leave some for the rest.
Yeah.
And of course, the one jerk kid at the very beginning saw a whole bag of candy and dumped it all in their own bucket. Just ruined it for the rest of them.
See, that's my thing. I can get candy any time of year, but I'm only, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm only given freedom to pull pranks on people around Halloween time.
So Halloween is your prank purge, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Halloween and April 1st.
But it does look like, in addition to the Splatfest, it looks like they're going pretty all out with the Splatoon update for Halloween, and the decorations are going to be very full-fledged for the Halloween in the Inkopolis. And it also looks like you're going to have lots of costume pieces that you're going to be able to get, new character designs. It looks pretty cool with the Jason mask or the hockey mask, the
hockey
different
mask.
The Japanese ghost costumes.
I really dig that they're going all in on this aesthetic. If any game of Nintendo's can pull off a Halloween themed event, it would be Splatoon. Splatoween, everyone.
Splatoween, that's what they call it, right? North America, it's going to start as of 3 p.m. Pacific time, October 19th, and it will run until October 21st. And it will be slightly different for other regions.
Yeah, it's a good time. I can't think of better games to spend Halloween. Really.
All right, so JV, did you take a look at this new Switch VR set that was designed? It's called the the NS glasses.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting because it looks like it is essentially a mechanism to mount your Switch to your face and use the Switch tablet as the VR screen, similar to those Google glasses or Google Cardboard.
Right,
To
yes.
use your phone as a VR screen, which makes sense to me, I think. But I'm not sure if the Switch has the resolution to support proper VR.
Yeah, it does feel like fans really want this to happen, even if it's not something that is really technically within the Switch's wheelhouse. But the fact that they went all out on this and the design of this looks really nice.
It does look solid. It honestly does look very solid.
If they were ever going to release like a serious VR setup for Switch, I think it would look pretty much like this.
I gotta say, the Switch conceptually seems like a great console for VR headsets like these, just because of how seamlessly it integrates with the Joy-Con and how well you could possibly use the Joy-Con as a control mechanism for the VR headset. That's something that's difficult to pull off for other consoles, and like with the PlayStation VR, you need a whole separate set of hardware just to get a clean control scheme for it.
Yes. In a related bit of news that happened during the week, though, John Carmack,
co-founder of id Software,
he was speaking, and he mentioned that he considers the Nintendo Switch something that the Oculus would have to compete against. He considers the Switch almost like a rival piece of hardware, even though like it's going for a totally different thing. Oculus is, this 3D headset, and it is awesome, and it's more of a hardware that connects to computers. It's not really like a portable device, unless that's something he's aiming for in the future, you think?
Well, that's one of the things that was announced quite recently. The Oculus Rift is actually shifting focus a bit to be less tethered to a computer. So Oculus released a video of Mark Zuckerberg and some other less known dude holding VR headsets, or wearing VR headsets on a tennis court, and they're playing VR tennis on the court itself. That means they were using the VR headset without a tether to a PC, and I think that's the direction that they want to go. More portable VR experience.
Okay, so that makes a little more sense then, that they would consider Switch something that could challenge them.
I think the headset is going to be called Oculus Quest. It's priced at $499, and it looks like they're utilizing AR technology to kind of map the room around you to see the area that's available for movement on the Rift, and I can see how that might become a Nintendo Switch competitor in a way.
Interesting. All right. So do you think that is something, though? Do you think that really does ring true? Would the people choose in the end between the Switch and that, or would the people who want one or the other not really overlap that much?
I honestly don't agree with the Nintendo Switch and Oculus Quest being direct competitors, just because the Oculus Quest is still a kind of a bulky piece of hardware to carry around. It's not nearly as portable as the Nintendo Switch. And while it is cool for you to be able to utilize VR without being tethered to a computer, and utilizing it in more locations than ever before, the Switch is a dedicated console that's taken to go in a portable package. That is a completely different experience.
Do you think Nintendo will ever bring on its own VR to Switch, or do you think that's just a pipe dream?
I gotta say, at this point, there is not really that much incentive for Nintendo to invest in VR that much. The Switch isn't really built for it. It isn't an ideal setup, and they're considering how accessible they want the Switch to be. VR headsets with that low of a resolution and that low of a frame rate can cause a bit of motion sickness. And I feel like if Nintendo wants to delve more into the VR realm, it would best serve them to just make a dedicated Nintendo VR headset instead of jerry-rigging the Switch into the VR space.
My prediction is the next Nintendo Switch upgrade, like their next edition of it, will have the technology incorporated in it to accommodate a VR headset. It won't be a necessity, but it'll be kind of like when they made the new 3DS with all its upgraded features, and then there were certain games that only run on the new 3DS. I think that the next Switch will have VR compatible games that only work with the new 3DS and don't work with regular ones.
Yeah, and I think it's not that it's impossible on the Switch as it is now, but I don't think it's ideal, and I don't think it'll be competitive to other VR options out there. No.
The things like this NS glasses thing, I think this is just kind of like forcing
the concept.
It's forcing the concept on there because people want this to work. But I don't think, a lot of people are willing to buy it just hoping it works, even if it doesn't really do what it's supposed to do.
I don't really think there's that much appeal to it unless Nintendo starts developing games for VR.
Right, yeah.
And even Sony is kind of having a little bit of trouble pushing software towards their VR product. And they're honestly doing as good a job as they could, but I feel like Nintendo would really start stretching themselves a bit thinner if they started going into this space.
Okay, final topic. I asked the community out there to answer. All right, with pretty much every game now having online multiplayer, I wanted to know who still plays local multiplayer, and if so, with whom, and what kind of games do you play it with? And so, yeah, JV, do you want to kick us off with one of our responses?
Okay, so I will start off with Joshua Taylor. He said, I actually still highly prefer local multiplayer games. Through the years, I've always enjoyed playing games with family, friends, etc. in the same room. I just don't really care to play online with random strangers or people I don't have any sort of relationship. In more recent times, I mostly play locally with my wife and fairly often with a friend of ours and some family. So that's a pretty good, interesting perspective. It seems Joshua's preference is local multiplayer, and you can't deny that there is definitely an appeal to being able to play locally in the same room with friends and family.
I don't necessarily have to be in the same room, but I do like playing with people I know way more than the pickup people, right? Like when I'm doing Monster Hunter, I'm a little more of a jerk in those regards, in that if I go on there, I'm doing missions that I need to advance, and if they pick one mission that I'm not interested in, I'm out of the group, right?
Yeah.
Whereas where I'm playing with people I know, like the other day, like we were doing a mission that was totally unnecessary for advancing, but my friend was like, oh, I just wanted to fight this thing. I think it's a fun fight, and I just wanted to do it. And I was like, all right, sure. All right, I'm fine with that. Let's go do this pointless but fun mission.
Yeah. And it's really fun to be able to get that instant feedback when engaging with players in the same room, because you can see their expression, you can be physical with them in however way, and that's something that isn't really replicable online quite yet.
Yeah. Randy Beekler wrote, my brother and I generally play cooperatively online or in person as much as we can. I've always thought the cooperative part of games are best. Competition is fun in online shooters, MOBAs, MMOs, but working together was always more fun. I mean, you could still be competitive while setting competitive goals, most kills, damage, etc. But if I had to choose between online and local, always local. You could communicate easier, discuss as you go, and share a drink.
Yeah, that's true. Especially, there is definitely a unique degree of fun had when you're cooperating with folks locally.
I relate very much, actually, well, not recently, but mentioned that they play with their brother. The only time my brother and I, when we were kids, weren't punching each other were the few games that we actually played together. And I'll remember my father actually staring at us once while we were playing Contra together, like back on the NES. And he just kind of like was staring at us in the doorway. And I was like, what's up, Dad? He's like, I've never seen the two of you just sitting there, not yelling or fighting or actually.
Right.
Like he was just in awe that we were doing something not violent to each other for like a minute. And it takes something special like a game that you actually have to work together to get that. So
yeah, it's definitely a pretty unifying experience, especially depending on the game that you play. Now, I do want to feature someone on the opposite end of the spectrum, Daniel Brennan. He said, the only multiplayer I engage in is online. In the last 10 years, I probably have played couch co-op about 4 times. And I do want to emphasize, I don't want to say that one is better than the other. I don't want to say that online multiplayer is inherently worse than local multiplayer. Because I feel like each multiplayer method serves a special purpose and serves a different needs based on each individual person. Some people have schedules that don't allow for local multiplayer, so online is really all they get. Some people actually prefer online multiplayer because maybe they have a degree of anxiety that makes it harder for them to get into a local multiplayer situation. Sometimes there might be disabled folks who don't have the physical capability to go out and play multiplayer in person physically, and their only outreach to other people is through online multiplayer games. So we definitely shouldn't be condescending to those who are multiplayer online only.
Well, no, see, for me, now multiplayer is way more important to me because lifestyles have changed for a lot of people. Because I feel like now, especially as you grow up, I don't hang out at any friends' houses anymore, and my friends don't come over my place to hang out, right? And that was the way you would play locally, is you'd have the console set up to the TV and multiple people would be playing off the TV together. That doesn't happen now. The way I play with other people, or anytime I even see my friends, we all work in the city, we hang out in the city, we meet, maybe I'll have a friend that might go camping with us or something, but we never arrange to really hang out at a house. So the only way for local to happen is if they have to own the same system as me and they have to own the same game. So that's a lot of hurdles, whereas now it's online. All right, I have another friend who owns the system and the game, but he just has to be at his house at the same time I'm at my house. And that's the only way. So now that I've gotten older, online is way more important. Whereas back then, Smash, everyone would meet over at one friend's house and we'd all just play his copy of Smash together,
Right. And I do have to say that Joshua's previous comment regarding online not wanting to play with random strangers, especially considering how connected our culture is as a whole nowadays, online relationships, online friendships are becoming a lot more solid than they've ever been before. So you might have friends online who you've never met in person, but you consider them a true friend and you play multiplayer games through that online connection. That still counts as a form of a relationship with someone, and that can fulfill your socialization.
The last one I wanted to read, it's short, but I think it gets to point though what one of my true dreams though of local multiplayer. La Republican Dominicana wrote on Twitter, "Don't really know anyone that has a Switch, but I've actually encountered a random person playing ARMS and played with them."
The random encounters online. Those are the best.
Yeah,
or not online, offline.
Yeah. Right, like once in a while, like if I'm seeing someone playing the Switch on the train, I always try to look over the shoulder, see what they're playing. Like once I was like, oh, he's playing Pokken. And I turn on my copy of the game and I see if he looks back, and I'm going to see if I get the go ahead to do a little versus while we're on the train for an hour or something like that. So, that's the dream, is that in between, right? It's a stranger, but it's someone who, you're willing to take that step and make friends with over a common game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that type of experience doesn't really happen to me much because Texas, we don't really commute through public transportation that often.
Yeah, you're all car drivers.
Yeah, we're all car drivers down here, but I do have to say, this type of experience happens all the time at conventions. Whether it's an anime convention, tabletop convention,
yes, that's a big
video game convention. This encounter happens pretty regularly, and I love it. I love being able to go up to someone, have this mutual connection, that mutual understanding, and being able to connect with another person through this game. It's a very special experience.
All right, if you want to suggest topics for us to talk about in the next week's episode, you can leave us a message either on the Facebook group or just leave a tweet with the hashtag SwitchFocus, which I found out is used for one other thing on Twitter, and apparently it's a TV station in Kenya. So they don't use it often, and so I don't think we're going to have too much confusion between our posts. But so definitely leave some tweets with that tag for us, and we'll discuss more topics next week. Though we do have something in mind that we're going to be focusing on. JV, you want to talk about that?
No. Let's just keep it a mystery till next episode.
All right, so let's take one last little break, come back with the news rundown, and if we have time, maybe we'll do a system switch.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, news rundown. Let's just wrap up and catch up on a few little stories that may have slipped through the cracks. And first one is a little interesting mystery that was recently unveiled. Tell us about it, JV.
So it looks like Game Freak and Nintendo and Creatures Inc. all trademarked the term Mon-Poke.
Mm-hmm. And it is accompanied by a logo, which looks like kind of little pencil written Mon-Poke with 4 different color combination Pokeball symbols above it.
Yeah, I have no idea what this could possibly be.
I have some random guesses.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. I think it could be some sort of like fashion or clothing accessory line, because the way that the logo looks, like it looks very much like just like something like a Uniqlo symbol. You know, it reminds me of some sort of Pokemon Center style apparel line that they might release.
I can see that. That's actually a really good guess. I wouldn't have picked that up. And the fact that the Pokeballs have different combinations of colors could be a representation of, different combinations of tops and bottoms and shorts and shirts.
The other thing I thought it might be is it could go back. I don't think this is a strong chance, but it does make me think of, I think that's a word that means my in Japanese or something like that. And I think that it could be alluding to another device, kind of like the little My Pikachu Tamagotchis that were released a million years ago. And it could be another little, a kind of little toy that people buy.
So,
like a little
kind of like the Pokewalker?
Accessory.
Like the Pokewalker?
Like the Pokewalker, or something that, maybe it also would integrate with the Let's Go games or with Pokemon Go, in that it would be more of an interactive little, monster raising game, but one that you can use with any of the Pokemon that you've caught in either Let's Go Pikachu or Pokemon Go.
Okay. What's your last one?
That is my last one.
Okay.
Those are my 2 possible, just off the top of my head, ideas of what this could mean.
Okay. So, for me, I think my biggest guess would be maybe it's a line of ultra chibi-fied Pokemon. That's kind of in line with stuff like Rilakkuma or, Pusheen. Maybe it's an ultra stylized form of the Pokemon, and that's they're really going for that kawaii culture.
Okay.
Maybe
I have no idea what any of those other things you mentioned are, but
You don't know what Pusheen is or Rilakkuma?
Are they anything like those Nindoroids?
No. It's like really cutified animals or something that is super.
Are they like plushies you buy or something?
Sometimes they're plushies, sometimes they're little figures, sometimes they're stickers. Okay. Yeah, if you look up kawaii culture, it's a thing. So or like Bananya. You've never heard of Pusheen the cat?
I probably would know him if I see him, but I probably don't know that as his name.
Yeah, it's just really super minimalistic depictions of animals or something, and it's made to be super cute.
Okay. All right, so why don't you tell us about the next story here?
All right, so it looks like it's confirmed that we're getting 3 more NES games for Nintendo Switch Online. We are getting Super Dodgeball, NES Open Tournament Golf, and Solomon's Key. It doesn't really matter to me what the games are, though Super Dodgeball is a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm actually pretty hyped about the Super Dodgeball.
Yeah. What's gotten me even more excited is the fact that we are getting more games and getting them pretty soon. This is great news because I actually half expected Nintendo Online, the NES library, to just be static for the whole year.
Yeah, I didn't think it would come this soon. I didn't think it would stay like static for the whole year, but I am surprised that only a couple of weeks. I mean, I guess it's the beginning of October, so new month, new games, and I think they're setting the precedent early on. Every month, new games added. Nothing is cycled out, so I think it's just going to be a growing library that's going to just be more and more valuable as this service continues to exist. So
yeah, it looks like November we're getting Metroid, Mighty Bomb Jack, and Twinbee. 3 games which I actually really dig.
I love Mighty Bomb Jack, yeah.
I love Twinbee, and obviously classic Metroid is classic Metroid. So
these are actually games I'm already like the level is going up because all these games are ones that I'm very interested in playing. And in December, we're getting Wario's Woods, Ninja Gaiden, and Adventures of Lolo. Ninja Gaiden, the classic. That's awesome. That's huge. That's Zelda level of iconic. Yeah. That's a centerpiece game and one that you can play very deeply into and enjoy. So yeah, very much worth it. Every month, it seems like something else earning your $20 for the year. Yeah, for sure. Good on you, Nintendo. For Splatoon 2 news, looks like we're getting version 4.1.0 next week. We're getting the last new stage that will be added to Splatoon 2, which is called Skipper Pavilion. We're also getting new weapons from the Kensa collection, new sub-weapons, a new special weapon called the Booyah Bomb, and just a lot more updates. So it looks like we're reaching the end of the line for Splatoon 2 on the stages front. Yes, but they did. I think they have stated in the past that after the last content update, events will still come out for the game for another year. So we still have a year of events, holiday stuff, special Splatfests and all that. So I think we still have plenty to look forward to on this game, and it's still going strong. So nothing's slowing down. Yeah. I'm just getting teased and keeping my eye on an icon I haven't clicked on in a while. Stardew Valley multiplayer update is coming soon, according to Concerned Ape. He mentioned on Twitter this week that the update for Switch is going into quality assurance. It's submitted. It just needs to be tested to make sure there's no bugs or crashes. And if it passes QA, then it can go live and we can start playing multiplayer, which is something that it's the thing I've been waiting for to reload my game. Not that I haven't already put 120 hours into my Stardew Valley, and I'll probably put another 120 in when I can play with people.
Yeah, and it's our community is really clamoring for it, that's for sure.
In down the pipe, there's only one game that really caught my eye this week, Steins Gate, which is a super dense, this is a game, it came out on the iPhone also, and it's like a full $50 game on iPhone. Like, that's the level. Yeah, like, this is a heavy duty visual novel, and it's one that I haven't even bought before because I wasn't ready to drop that kind of money on an iPhone title. I will definitely look into playing this on the Switch because
I feel like you would enjoy it. I watched the anime that it was based on, and I enjoyed that. So
the only thing is, I know that it has a lot to do with time travel, and time travel usually is a turnoff for me. In that, like, they usually abuse it as a plot device in ways that I find kind of lazy. You know,
I feel like they handled time travel pretty well. It's really low key how much it integrates.
If I get a review code, 100%, I will try to get a review code for it.
Yeah, if you can, try for that. I think you might enjoy it or hate it. We'll see.
What are the new releases for this week, JV?
All right, so on October 4th, we are getting Soul Blight, Six Sides of the World, Trouser Heart, Hot Gimmick, Cosplay Jong for Nintendo Switch. Okay. Frutakia 2, Splash Blast Panic, Revenant Dogma, Kimono Friends Picross, Art of Balance. Oof, okay. Ascension, or Ascension, Vertical Drop Heroes HD, the Jetomero Hero of the Universe, Nefarious, Animated Jigsaws, Japanese Women, The Midnight Sanctuary, and Party Crashers. Now, I do want to say, Art of Balance is a kind of controversial because Shinen, the developers of Fast RMX and Nanostray and those types of games back in the day, they're really well known or well respected. They posted on Twitter that they were going to have a brand new announcement after being silent for almost a whole year. Wow. And it ended up just being an Art of Balance port from the whole week. Anyway, on October 5th, we are getting Super Mario Party, which is going to be definitely of interest. On October 8th, we are getting Bombing Busters. October 9th, we are getting Pinball FX 3, Williams Pinball Volume 1, Disgaea 1 Complete, Mark of the Ninja Remastered, Goosebumps the Game, and Valkyria Chronicles 4 Squad E, To the Beach. Alright, so on October 10th, we are getting Shift Happens. October 11th, we are getting The Missing, J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories. Tricky Towers. Oh, Child of Light. We're getting Child of Light. Joggernauts and Joggernaut.
Okay, awesome. All right, last little thing here, JV. We have just enough time. Can you squeeze in your System Switch pick of the week? What game would you like to see come to the Switch that hasn't been announced for it yet?
All right, so I've been playing on my mobile phone Dragalia Lost. So this is a gacha-style dungeon crawler game made by Nintendo, partnered with Cygames. It's actually quite fun. The music is incredibly playful. The control scheme is nice. It's definitely a lot more Diablo style, where you're going through a dungeon, hacking, slashing, using your abilities, turning into dragons, and collecting loot. And I feel like this type of game would be served really well on the Switch, just because of how the control schemes, the Joy-Con would really serve it best.
Fair enough there. I haven't actually found much of a inspiration to turn it on since downloading it, so yeah, I gave it a try, but I was just like, yeah, it's cool, but I haven't really found a niche for it.
That's fair.
But my pick, actually, since with all the Nintendo games coming out every month, I feel like a genre that hasn't yet been put on there. Not that it's been, hugely expanded upon yet, but an NES game I would love to see go on there and bring a different type of game to the menu. Maniac Mansion, my first point-and-click adventure game. It was an awesomely funny and varied style of game with, you had like 9 or 10 characters to pick from. You made a team of 3, and you had to rescue your girlfriend who was kidnapped by the mad scientist who lives in the basement. There's all sorts of crazy people living in the house. You have to use the different characters' special abilities to sneak into the house, find ways in. There's different ways to beat the game, both good and bad, depending on which characters you have and which path you take through there. There's all sorts of secrets, Easter eggs, and there's a crazy number. Oh, if anyone ever played Day of the Tentacle, this is the prequel to Day of the Tentacle, which is a very famous point-and-click adventure game that was also hilarious, but this is where it came from. Anyway, Maniac Mansion, I loved it for just all the sorts of things you could poke around and do in it, and the funny ways you could end the game.
Oh, cool. Okay, I dig it.
Yeah. All right, thank you, guys, for everything. It was an awesome episode, and without further ado, until next time, everybody.
Switch it up.
Thanks for listening. You can support the SwitchCast by visiting us at patreon.com/theswitchcast and join the review crew by rating us and subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Also, check out our Discord chat where we have an enthusiastic bunch of Switch fans in a family-friendly environment. Also, join our Facebook group for daily discussion and quite a bit of activity towards the Switch itself.
You can also contact us directly via email at kc@theswitchcast.com and jv@theswitchcast.com. Talk to us on Twitter @theswitchcast.
Thank you, HeatleyBros, for the theme music. And check us out on our website at theswitchcast.com, where we will post all relevant links and show notes.
Promotional considerations provided by publishers in the form of review copies of games.
Meow. That's my best cat impression.
Try to be mindful of your ums.
Now I'm being... Okay, so...
Take a breath, yeah.